What's up, YouTube? It's Gilbert Lala Lakers back with another video. In this one, we are going to cover the Lakers Jazz rematch preseason game number 2. That's 4, but 2 uh, here in 2015. So let's get right into it. All right. So first thing I wanted to touch on was Julius Randle and his seemingly improved performance from game 1 to game 2. Man, he looked so much smarter with his so much smarter. He looked much smarter with his aggressiveness on this night than the prior. It really seems that he has quite a few nice go-to moves to drive into the lane and just abuse his power, or if he misses, get the offensive board by abusing his power and finishing. So I really, really like what I saw from Randle. It seemed like Meta was already having an impact on his game. Now, of course, it's too early to tell that. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Meta's contract isn't even guaranteed, so there's no absolute certainty that he is going to be a part of this roster for the season. But you could definitely see that Randle's been putting in the work that everyone's talking about. He had this very nice go-to move that he put on display for a couple times for a couple possessions where he would jab left and then at the same time cross over to the right and then just go, full steam down the lane. That was very nice, and usually it put himself in a very good position no matter when he used it. Now, of course, coming into the season, the level of competition overall is going to step up and the level of defenders that he's going to be going against. So I don't really see that as being like, a hook shot or Tim Duncan bank shot or anything like that. I don't think it's going to be his go-to signature always works play. But I definitely see the potential if he can develop maybe like one or two more high post, something that will allow him to transition to the low post if he needs, or just give him options overall on offense. I really, really like what he could possibly do from the high post. So that. Before I stop talking about Julius Randle, though, I wanted to mention that it's very rare, in my opinion, that a player gets drafted and goes onto a team where you may have a a great option to mentor him. And I think that's what we have with Julius Randle and Meta World Peace. Now, although Meta World Peace is obviously past his prime, he still has the game knowledge. He still goes just as hard every single time out there as he did during our championship run with him, or during the 2000s with the Pacers and stuff. I really feel that Julius got into a very fortunate situation with Meta here. So, the first thing that came to mind with that, and what I mean by, the ideal situation for Randle, is think of like Dekker and Ariza in Houston. That's another one where I share that same mindset and opinion on. I feel Dekker couldn't have possibly gotten into a better situation than he did with Houston. In Houston, Trevor Ariza can sort of mentor him. They have a very similar body type. They have a very similar play style, in my opinion. And I would say maybe Dekker has a little bit more offensive potential. Yeah. And just overall offensive ability, while Ariza has more defensive ability and defensive potential. But granted, for the most part, they are very similar players. And I think that will tremendously help Dekker be more of an impact player sooner rather than later. And I think we're going to have that same type of interaction with Randle and Meta that we will see with Dekker and Ariza. Now, of course, that's just my opinion, but I really do think, because I mean, you think about Ron Artest or Meta World Peace when he was in his prime. What was he mainly? He has very quick hands, both offensive and defensively. Pretty good rebounder for his size. Our test or world peace measures in at like what 6'7", and I think that's even being maybe a little bit generous. But nonetheless, he's a good rebounder for his size, and his composure is pretty bad. But his on the court composure is actually pretty decent. Like for as hard and as aggressive as he plays, he's not fouling out every single game is kind of what I mean by that. Like obviously don't throw Gatorade in his face, and I think his composure won't be an issue. So that being said, let's go ahead and move on to a couple of the other topics I want to talk about really quickly. Nick Young, he looked as impatient as ever on offense. I really don't understand his mindset. You would figure, I mean, the guy's 30 by now, so I don't think it's going to improve coming into this season or any future seasons for him. I think this is kind of like the finalized product of Nick Young that we're going to get in the NBA. And he just rushes stuff when it's unnecessary. He had several shots, in my opinion, that were just completely unnecessary, where he could have either looked for a teammate or taken a better shot and, increased his chances of scoring. Like, I don't know. I like Nick Young. I think he's a good player. I don't bash him at all when it comes to overall player performance. But man, you just think it's kind of one of those things where you just wonder, what if he just wouldn't rush his shots, or what if instead of taking that three, he pump fake stepped in and took that two, and he did it. He's shown flashes of that, but we need consistency for it to actually matter. And I don't think we're gonna get it, but you can be hopeful. All right. Larry Nance Jr. In addition to Meta World Peace, which we saw for the first time, we also saw Larry Nance Jr. out there, and it was very limited minutes, obviously, but I will say he shares the aggressiveness that hasn't left. If you look back to summer league, he was like flying all over the place, getting rebounds, put back dunks, steals, and then transitioning into offensive production. I mean, the guy has talent. There's no doubt about that, and I love his motor. He's always working. But this game, I saw a little bit more fouling defense than actual defense. I definitely think he looked a bit nervous out there, which is to be expected. But it didn't seem like he was being smart with his aggressiveness. Going back to Randle, like I would equate this Larry Nance performance to the first Randle performance in the first preseason game. So I do think it's something that'll improve, as we progress throughout the season. But will he have an opportunity to prove it? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be getting the minutes. I do think he should be working on jump shot, though, by the way. I think that would really help his case. All right. Let's talk about Kobe. So Kobe Bryant, he looked great, in my opinion. Started off the game with some very nice shots out there. Um, and, he said in a recent interview that I was watching, I believe it was on Lakers Nation, that he doesn't like setting up the offense. And you can tell. I mean, when has Kobe performed the best overall, like statistically? That was when he was mainly, well, actually, statistically, I think he was better when he was forced to set it up. But I mean, that was because, okay. Nonetheless, my point was invalid. I was wrong about that. But uh, I can definitely see him at this stage of his career being a lot more successful coming off screens, stop popping, posting up players, just taking more, not only high percentage shots, but shots that don't require him to be putting so much force on his body, head fakes, or pump fake drive, stuff like that. That takes a lot out of you, especially when you do it every time down the floor for, I don't know, how many shots does Kobe usually take a night? Like 20? So, 20 something times a night, 82 times a year, 20 years now, not even including playoffs. Like, it's definitely a better alternative if you can just get Kobe to focus on the things that he is fantastic at, which is creating for himself, creating like space for the jumper. And, if he can focus on defense more this season, I think that would be fantastic for him and the team overall. Because, I mean, you look at that's another thing I want to talk about too. Is you look at Kobe's defense on Hood, and granted, Hood had a good night, but that's because I feel that's a different reason entirely. I think Rodney Hood is going to be a pretty damn good scorer in this league from what I've seen from him. But nonetheless, you look at Hood, his expressions, his demeanor out there on the floor, and it was definitely impacted by Kobe's defense. You could tell he was frustrated, and Kobe, for the most part, played fantastic. If I had to find one thing that I did not like about Kobe's performance so far this preseason, small sample size, but nonetheless, is that he was playing what is known as lazy defense on a couple possessions. And that would be, when the defender goes by you, instead of trying to reposition correctly, catch up to them, maybe get a block from behind, or call for help defense as you slide over to defend to help with their guy to help the helper. Instead of doing any of those options, which are a better option, he reaches and tries to get a steal, or he, commits and try to get a steal, and it's the riskiest option, and that's just all it comes down to. It's a gamble, and if it works, fantastic. It's a turnover for them, and you get the ball. Usually, it leads to a score on the other end. But if it doesn't, it almost always leads to a score on that possession for Utah, and it didn't work out for him. He was a little bit slow in a couple of the passing lanes, and I saw multiple times, at least two for sure, where he reached behind Hood or whoever he was guarding at the time, and just instead of trying to recover, he reached. And I think that that's something that he'll realize at this age. He may not be as quick as he used to, although I still think he was playing good defense overall. He needs to learn that that's not going to work at this level, and he should know that. Kobe is probably one of the smartest, if not the smartest, basketball IQ players I've ever seen play. So I'm pretty sure he'll see that it's an issue and stop it. All right. So covering Meta World Peace again, I do want to mention it seemed when he went out there that we were trailing at the time, but he kind of lifted the team's spirits with his play. That dive out of bounds was fantastic. That's definitely a runner test type play, and and this is preseason. He's diving out of bounds, so yeah, I just think it rubbed off on the team. It allowed us to make that comeback, close the gap, and eventually take the lead for quite a bit of the time. And give us an opportunity to win this game that we probably couldn't have won if we didn't have that run or that motivation. So kudos to Meta for that. Roy Hibbert and Brandon Bass were attacking the offensive glass. They have, even going back to game 1 too, that's something I didn't really talk about the first time. But holy shit, these guys are going to be fantastic for us. I kind of see a little bit of Jordan Hill and Brandon Bass with a little bit more developed offensive game. So I'm liking what I see out of Brandon Bass. And as for Hibbert, well, okay, let me talk about Hibbert. So Hibbert, he's rebounding effectively. He is being that rim protector for the most part that we need and that we've lacked for a long, long time. I would say since Bynum. Excuse me. But Cooley, I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but Cooley, who played for the Jazz, he's a player that I'm unfamiliar with. He's a physical guy like Fareed. He hustles, he bangs you down low, and not in the kinky way. Like, he just bangs up against you and pushes you down to the floor. He was definitely he knew his center of gravity, because I'm pretty sure he's not 7'2" like Hibbert. He looked quite a bit shorter. I would say more like 6'10", 6'11". And but that guy, he bullied Hibbert for quite a bit of his limited minutes out there, and that is not a good sign, because there are a lot of guys that probably have Cooley's strength around the league, but are a lot better players. So, when they're banging, like let's say Zach Randolph, for example, he's built, similar strength to Cooley, at least from an outside perspective. And when Randolph bumps him and Hibbert if Hibbert falls or stumbles like he did against Cooley, Randolph's going to score 2 points because he's going to be near the basket, or he's going to get that rebound and dish it out to Conley and bring it up the floor. So there's going to be a lot more bad situations arising if Hibbert allows these smaller guys that are strong, or even bigger guys that are strong, anyone strong, if he allows anyone to bully him. But I will admit, the better the good to go with that bad was that Hibbert did not back down. Uh, we can talk about I don't really want to talk about the altercation with Booker and Hibbert because I thought the entire thing was fucking stupid. Booker overreacted. Hibbert came in like an idiot in my opinion, and got the technical and got slapped on the side of the head. Hilarious as entertainment, but really bad in terms of basketball in my opinion. No place for that type of shit. But nonetheless, Hibbert didn't back down in an actual basketball sense on the court. You know, when he got knocked down, he got right the fuck back up. And, you know, he wasn't getting in their face. He probably was talking shit under his breath, but he wasn't just playing angry. He was playing aggressive. And there's a difference. Like when I use the word aggressive, like for Larry Nance Jr. or Julius Randle, they're not playing angry. They're just playing hard. And Metta World Peace too. They're playing hard, and that's what I saw from Hibbert. You know, if he got knocked down, he got right the fuck back up, either ran down to defense or he went crashed the boards. And I really, really like that. I think that's a good sign for Hibbert. You know, this is his contract year. This is his year to prove that he is the level of player that he was in Indiana at some points. And he's had a couple lapses in talent, which is very strange for someone with as much talent as he has. And I know he has it. I've watched this guy for years. I've been a fan of him, you know, since he first came into the league out of Georgetown. He's a good player, and I'm excited to see what he can bring to us this year. All right, so 17 minutes. I think that's enough discussion about a preseason game. So sorry if I rambled, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and end the video here. Thanks for watching once again. Remember to like the video. Comment down below if you have anything you want to talk about. You know, this channel is barely starting out, so I'll be able to answer pretty much everything at this time. And yeah, be on the lookout for more videos, more Laker discussion, more NBA discussion. I'm planning some videos out currently, so definitely don't go anywhere. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.